Okay, everybody. Let's call. I call this meeting to order at 3:33. 5:35. Okay, and then we'll start off with roll calls, attendance. Alejandro. Here. Eric.
Here.
Me here. Monica.
Here.
Dane. Here. Alex is excused.
Yeah.
Okay. Cece or Chiquita. Jessica. Brandon.
It's on this way.
And then Martin.
This is excused.
Greg. And Josh. Here. Oh, he's right there. And then Joey. And then
Yep.
Alright, moving on to agenda approval. Go ahead and look over the this week's agenda. Eric?
I make a motion to approve the agenda for the January 15th meeting.
Motion by Eric, seconded by Dane. All in favor? Opposed? Abstention? Agenda is approved. On to the approval of the previous minutes for 1/8/2020. Look over them.
Motion to approve last week's minutes.
Okay, motion to approve, Monica, seconded by Monica. All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. On to reports. I don't have any for the time being.
Two just brief updates from last week. Noting our vacancies. One, as you all will note, we do have a new student member. Great work, Alejandro, in filling that quickly. Do you want to introduce yourself just to the committee?
My name's Regina. I go by Stacey. Do I need to go further?
If you, you don't have to in any way. But yeah.
I'm a bio major, minor in Spanish.
Glad to have you on. We'll touch base and do some other training, so you know. I also did reach out to Faculty Senate with Tanya's vacancy, so they're aware of it. They'll see if there's anyone, but given that faculty hours have already been assigned for the year, we likely will have that vacancy for the rest of this academic year. But they'll see if there is anyone else to fill that. So that's probably one that won't get filled until next fall at this point. So that's all that I got.
I do not have any reports.
Brandon, any reports? Did you sit down?
No, just sorry, wrapping up an interview.
Moving into public comment. So.
Is there any public comment at this time? Public comment first call. Open up to the gallery. Seeing none, we'll move on to old business, which there is none. So on to new business. Supplemental funding request presentations. Funding request 2023 Port Townsend Writers Conference for $1,945. You can come up. You all have 10 minutes to present and then 10 minutes for questions. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Gabby, and I'm an English teaching major and a creative writing minor.
I'm Jennifer Dowd. I'm also an English language teaching major and creative writing minor.
And we're seeking funds to go to the Port Townsend Writing Conference.
All right, so I'm going to start with this slide because I was privileged to attend the writing conference last year, and it was an incredible experience for me. The workshop is a week in the Port Townsend area at the fort there in Port Townsend. It's a beautiful setting on the sea, Puget Sound. It's an area with they bring in professional writers for poetry, for fiction, for creative nonfiction, and they're intimate class settings. The class that I was involved in last year was 6 days of intense 3-hour classroom work with very small class sizes. There was only, I believe there was 10 people in my class that I worked with Paisley Rechtel. I personally got to work with Paisley Rechtel, and it was very academically informative. We got to dive into poetry. We also we were given prompts and did work there in the class and outside of class, we returned with work. And then through the group of peers, we were able to workshop each other's work and then get professional feedback from a published author on our work and just to develop as writers. And also got to come home with a lot of prompts to be able to share with the community. In the afternoons at this conference, there's a myriad of different workshops that you can attend to. You kind of can decide day of. It was really good for me because I got to branch out and go into different areas outside of my expertise, which is poetry, but I also got to be involved in some other things, try out some fiction stuff. And then also every evening there was 3 to 4 published authors that would do readings of their work, which was open to the public, and so people from all over the area would come in and enjoy that. I know that this year there's also going to be an opportunity for people to attend the conference to share their own personal work in an open mic concept.
So yeah, like Jen said, it's a really great opportunity to not only work with authors in an intimate setting, but also to just get to talk to them, get to know them. Actually, at a recent writing conference last year, Jen and I got to meet Spokane poet Aileen Kiel-Val, and Jen actually invited her to attend our Ellensburg annual Inland Poetry Crawl event, so now she'll be coming this year and speaking there, so that's exciting. We also, Jen and I both have some ideas for possible events that we can hold both on campus and the community following the conference, which we're super excited about. And then we also just get the chance to bring this back to our peers on campus and be like, hey, here's this conference, here's what we do here, like, you should come next year. And actually, like Jen said, she attended last year. I did not, but she talked to me about it and just totally hooked me. So, and we also have a few other students that we've been in conversation with who are hoping to go.
Okay, just for a way for us, for me, I'm very passionate about poetry. I'm very, as a future teacher, I'm seeing the power of poetry in the lives of my students. I'm seeing the power of community that poetry creates, and I really want to enhance that here at CWU and in Ellensburg. I've been able to be a part of the Yakima Coffee House Poets in Yakima, and have seen a beautiful community form. I've been a part of the Poetry Crawl. I got to run the open mic last year, and through those opportunities, through conferences, through open mic settings, I've been able to connect with poets, been able to get readings in other cities, and be able to connect students with poets as well. So my hope is something that's kind of in the working as I'm trying to launch off of the Prowl. Joanne Thomas, she's been running the Prowl for the last 5 years, and she's been able to bring in poets from all over the Northwest, incredible poets. And I'm hoping to launch off what she's doing. She's really trying to bridge the Ellensburg community and CWU, the academic community, kind of into one. And I think she's kind of starting to do that as we've been doing this for 5 years. So my hope is to launch an open mic with that same kind of concept, with monthly meetings, bringing in a featured reader each month, and then also inviting community members and students to come in. I've already spoken with Javier Cavazos, and he would like to get the Inklings Writing Club involved in that. And I also have friends who are outside of the CWU campus who would like to be able to attend an open mic, which would not be in conflict with the CWU open mic. And that's my hope for the future.
And then I work as a writing tutor in our University Writing Center here on campus, and I've been talking with my boss, the Writing Center coordinator, about doing an event in the Writing Center where we basically do a workshop where we have tutors on standby to kind of help generate ideas or revision. I'm hoping it can kind of be a 2-part series where there's like a generation day and then a revision day. Because our goal is, right now it kind of feels like people sort of have this idea of what the Writing Center is and how it's only like academic, formal, professional writing, and we're hoping to create a space for creative writers in the Writing Center as well. So I'm hoping to bring back kind of a model of what workshops can look like from the conference and kind of apply that into an academic setting here on campus. And then here's kind of a breakdown of our budget plan. It has since been modified since our application, but only slightly kind of polished up. Our main costs are workshops, lodging and meal plan, and then travel, which we will be driving to Coopville and then taking the ferry to Port Townsend, and to just kind of reduce costs, we're going to be traveling together. We also both received a scholarship from Centrum, who is the organization that puts on the conference. So we're very blessed to be fellows at that conference. And we've also sought out funding from the English department, which unfortunately they don't have the means right now to fund student travel and conferences.
Any questions from the committee? You said you go to this event last year. This is something that CWU students go to each year, or every year in the past?
I think there's been a couple that have gone in the past. I went with 2 other CWU students this last year. Danny and I are going this year, and then we have 2 other students that are interested, and we're still trying to cultivate some interest in the event, because it has been so powerful in my own writing and community.
Okay. Greg?
Maybe this is for Lacey or Joey. So the date of travel is next fiscal year, is that? But I don't recall how we do that or that works.
So, if the committee votes yes, that we can actually carry those funds over to that point. And we've actually been in communication about what the status of current students to kind of jump forward to that point. So they are aware that they will need to be current students within those dates of travel, like we have talked about before. I just want to make sure is the request now 1915? Is that what I saw on the screen? Okay, I just want to make sure I wrote that down. Thank you.
I just want to say, I like to see that you have an idea of how you're going to come back to Ellensburg and work with students, that idea of another space in the writing center for creative writing where you're going to be working possibly working with students to develop that outside of the academic things we all do in the writing center, and to create another event on top of one that that is already going on here in Ellensburg. I think that's one of the most important things, is bringing it back to the students, not only the students here in the school, but also the members of the greater community here in Ellensburg, to work to connect students and members of the community is a good thing.
Any more questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to request 2024, which is Washington Music Educators Association Conference, NAFME, for $7,126.
Hi, my name's Amanda. I'm a music education major.
Tommy, I'm a music education consultant with core emphasis.
I'm Caitlin, and I'm a music ed major, broad area.
Good evening, my name is Lexi Magistrali, and I am a broad area music education major.
My name is Michaela, and I'm also a broad area music education major.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. Tonight we are going to be presenting on the Washington Music Educators Association Conference. Alright, so Washington Music Educators Association, or WMEA, is the state section of the National Association for Music Educators, what we call NAFME. It's a national organization that supports current and future music educators of all areas, and it supports us through advocacy for music ed, as well as research and networking.
The WMEA conference is an annual event for music educators, and it provides multiple professional development and networking opportunities.
This year it is being held February 14th through the 16th in Yakima, Washington. Also, fun fact, CWU's NAFME chapter has the highest overall attendance at this conference out of all of the colleges in Washington.
In addition to what Caitlin just shared, our Central's NAFME chapter is also the largest chapter in the state of Washington. So our presence at this conference is a great representation of the music education, or just the education program we have here at Central, as well as our music program. And our presence there is also reflects positively of Central Washington University. At this conference, there are many benefits from attending. We get to attend various clinics presented by some of the top-notch educators in music from around the state. And these cover topics from band, choir, orchestra, jazz education, general music. And so this diversity of the clinics that are offered equips us with the skills that are necessary in each content area that we might pursue in our career and future. There are also lots of performing ensembles that are brought in from around the state. These are top-notch groups that show us the product of a quality music education and also demonstrate to us what students are capable of when they receive high-quality music education. One of the great skills that is necessary to be successful as a music educator is networking, the ability to make connections with people in our field. And being at this conference surrounded by thousands of the greatest music educators in our state is a great opportunity for us to connect with these educators and learn from them, introduce ourselves, also making our school known. And the people that we meet at this conference provide the basis of our support system as we go into our career after leaving Central, which is very important, especially as a first-year teacher, to have that support system of people who you can count on to get you through your first year. At these clinics, we have the opportunity to go up after and introduce ourselves. And oftentimes, we've found clinicians that we really want to bring back to our Central's NAFME chapter to present with other students. So that's a really great opportunity for that. All of us up here have attended the NAFME, or the WME conference at least once or twice. We have a couple sophomores who attended at once. Caitlin has attended two times? Okay, and then a couple of the NAFME conferences as well, which is a bit larger scale. But the greatest thing that we take away from attending this conference is it reignites our passion for music education, why we went into this field in the first place. It's something that you don't necessarily get from going to all your ed classes every day or playing in your ensembles. And we also have an opportunity to share with each other the knowledge that we've brought back from the conference at our first NAFME meeting after the conference, to just share additional knowledge and ideas that we've.
So a little more detail on the clinics. So basically, with so many people at this conference, it's really nice that there are over 100 clinics that we can go to, and they're all specialized for different areas of music. Like Michaela said, choir, band, orchestra, jazz, elementary. You get to go and you be in a smaller setting, closer with the clinicians that are teaching, and they have all sorts of different kinds of stuff. Like they have specific clinics that are for collegiate students who are looking to build their network and work on their professionalism and meeting other collegiate students as well as other professionals. Some of the examples for clinics we have are building support system in your first year of teaching, classroom management for the new teacher, transgender teaching and music education, and how privilege impacts music education. So a lot of really relevant and important topics that are discussed at this conference.
Okay, so there are 4 main funding components to this conference. They're food, membership dues, registration fees, and transportation. So the first of those is membership dues. And in order to be eligible to go to this conference and be reimbursed by our club, every single member of our NAFME chapter has to renew their annual membership with the national version, NAFME, as we mentioned. And this is $30 per person. We also are contributing to our own food costs, and the other 2 portions of this are registration and transportation. So registration for the actual conference happening in February is $35 per person. We expect about 148 majors to attend this conference, which is about 70% of our music education students. And this totals $5,180. For transportation, we have come up with a way to save money with carpooling. So again, in order to receive reimbursement, every one of our members has to be part of a 4-part carpool system. So that totals $3,920. So as you'll see on the right side, all 4 of these components are mentioned, which brings us to a total of just over $15,000. You can see our individual contribution from every single member that's attending this conference reduces costs by over $6,000. We have also been fully approved from the Funds Council and SAS for $15,000 for the year. So we are left with our total requested amount, which is $6,273.20. So this is just a visual representation of what I just went over. You'll notice on the left side, these green and kind of yellow colors represent the personal contribution that every single member is making, which is 40% of this visual. And so the other side is what we are seeking support with, and that's, again, the transportation and registration fees, which is 60%. So just to summarize, our total cost for this conference is just over $15,000. And again, we are fully approved for the $2,000, so that subtracts from the total, and our personal contribution also subtracts from the total. So again, here's our total requested amount, $6,270. I just want to say that it is an absolute privilege to attend this conference every single year. As Michaela mentioned, it really reignites our passion to become music educators. And we want to thank you, S&A, for your continued support of attending this conference every year. Please consider your support of us attending this conference as an investment into the future of Washington music educators. Thank you.
I'll open up the floor to the committee for questions. Greg?
Maybe I can make this into a one-part. So I'm curious, like, what's the overall attendance at the conference, and how many the clinics, you call those the sessions? So there's 100 of those, 33 a day, and what's the cap enrollment in to sign up for those? Are those pretty large sessions or small? I'm just thinking, wow, Central's going to occupy the whole thing.
We do. We do occupy the whole thing, yeah. There are certain clinics that are, from past years, they have discovered are more popular. So they put those in larger rooms. So they're, obviously the Yakima Convention Center is a big venue too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. As far as overall attendance, I know it's in the thousands.
Wow.
I'm not exactly sure. It's every future music educator in Washington from colleges, which again, we have the largest attendance of any college. And it's also current music educators, and there are some past music educators that attend as well.
Definitely the majority of the attendees are current music educators, ranging from first year to people who are in their, 40th year of teaching. So you have every age range represented, but a significant part of it is the collegiate attendees.
Cool. And just an addition, $42.39 per student.
Yes.
Seems pretty reasonable.
What are your criteria for limiting the amount of participation from students? Sending 140 students, that's great and all, but we're here at S&A Committee, we're also trying to support other students and other events, and I would be remiss to support something where we're sending 140 students when I think a similar benefit would be with less students going. So what are your requirements and your criteria for students to go to this?
So with our number of students going 148, that is about 30, no. It's less than 50% of our music majors. So these 140 that choose to attend are our top music majors. They're the ones that are going out and creating these opportunities for themselves. And we support the music majors that want to commit that extra time and effort to be at the conference. Yes.
So I guess we also come back from the conference and we debrief and share what we learned, but a really big part of the conference is the networking aspect, and you can't do that in any other way other than the one-on-one interaction.
As we're preparing for things like our student teaching, trying to find a teacher that fits our teaching style, or seeing their ensemble play, being very impressed with their ensemble, wanting to learn from that kind of an educator, being at this conference helps us to make those connections, like Amanda said, with the networking, which couldn't happen by a couple of representatives coming back to say, oh, here are the top 5 educators at this conference. We get to really establish those personal relationships and start building that foundation in our career.
Eric?
How many students have previously gone to this conference? Do you have that information?
So it alternates every year from a large, like Western Division conference and then the state conference. So it's.
I think you misunderstood my question. How many central students have gone in previous years to this?
It's the same percentage, 70% of music education majors. It is a little bit less for those Western clinics, but I would say, yeah, like around 130, 140. It varies depending on how many music education majors we have each year.
And I have one other question, but I'll wait.
You touched on when you were talking about the transportation piece with carpooling to save costs. Did you all, what was the other alternatives that you all looked at? And I only ask because that's a lot of people and a lot of cars on the road, so I don't know if there was other options explored.
Well, busing would be the other option.
Yeah.
But we have 2 performing ensembles. The CWU Ensemble and the CWU Symphonic Band are performing at this conference Friday night. And with the schedule conflicts, it doesn't make sense to bus over. It'll be more expensive that way to have other people drive in addition. So there's no way to get everyone in one spot at one time.
Edgar?
So just to be clear, anybody who's a part of the club, if they want to go, they can. Is that your only criteria, if they just want to go?
They have to pay their annual dues and be a part of the National NAFME membership.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what I meant by dues. So just anybody who's a part of the club can go.
They have to contribute their 40%, essentially, of their personal costs to the conference. They have to cover their 40%. And then, yes.
Yeah, a lot of our ed majors actually aren't part of the NAFME chapter, so they do not pay their dues, and they would not get to go to conference. They would have to find their own way. It's actually, what, $85 to go if you're not a member, so it saves about $50 to be registered.
Eric?
Should the S&A committee to decide not to fully fund this, what is your plan and criteria to determine who gets to go and who doesn't?
I think that based on the amount that we would be provided, we have to calculate how many students we would be able to send to the conference. So we would likely cap it after people who register the soonest. There are only a few days left to register, so I think we would prioritize the people who are eager enough to register early, who would be our
It might come down to partial funding at that point too, where rather than fully reimbursing everyone, we don't, which could deter people from going to conference at that point. But we would have to make
Dane?
Sorry if I missed this earlier, but did you specify on how this would benefit other students besides the ones going to the conference? Maybe in the music department, but outside of the whole university as well?
Yeah, I've definitely witnessed firsthand. We take our education classes with all other education majors, and so the concepts and ideas that we come back with from this conference, we directly discuss and share those concepts in our education classes every day with other education majors. So I'd say this impacts all education majors absolutely.
If I might add, I think Central's music department specifically has a really healthy dynamic of other students learning from other students. So I think there does not go a day where I don't learn something from somebody in my ensemble or somebody in my classes. And I think the more people we send to these kind of events, it's just a breeding ground for knowledge, and we bring it back, and it just organically gets shared with one another. And that's how it really gets transported to everyone in the department.
Is that something you guys encourage as the leaders of this club, as to everybody in that, to like share the information? Is that well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we also have a debrief session at the end of conference where obviously there's 100 clinics over 3 days, so we can't all attend every single conference. So we share that information with each other so that we all get as much info as we can.
We also take notes and share them with everybody. And if we meet clinicians that we really like, we can bring them back.
Greg, this will be the last question.
Okay, last question. Let's see, we have $1,389 in the club ledger. And so I don't know if you're using any of that, and did you ask the department for funds?
Yeah, so the department right now doesn't have the funds to allocate specifically to this club conference. As far as our club account goes, we reserve that account to contribute to bringing clinicians back. We actually have an event occurring this spring that is going to be a Washington Collegiate Symposium, where we are inviting all schools from Washington to participate in like a smaller model of the conference. So that money is reserved for specifically our chapter here at Central.
Sweet. That's all our questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. And then this comes up with Quest 2025 Phi Alpha Theta Conference History Club for $4,250.
Hello.
And it's Susan.
Hi, good evening. My name is Henry Jennings. I'm a grad student of history here at Central, and I am requesting money in the amount of $4,250 so that up to 20 history students will be able to attend the Phi Alpha Theta Regional History Conference in Bellingham, Washington, D.C. Phi Alpha Theta is the National History Honor Society. The organization sponsors conferences across the country, and it's divided into regions. Central's Tau Iota chapter belongs to the Northwest region. Phi Alpha Theta promotes original research, and each conference gives students a chance to select a topic, write an original research paper, and then present that paper in front of their peers and faculty. As part of the conference, the presenters each receive constructive criticism from a professor in the field in which their paper is situated. This gives students not only the chance to engage in the process of writing and presenting original research at an academic conference, but also allows the students to receive feedback from professors outside of their home university. This valuable feedback often results in new ways for students to conceive of their work and greatly improves the research by encouraging new ways of thinking about historical research and writing. Phi Alpha Theta conferences also give students extremely valuable networking opportunities, and the environment very closely mirrors that of professional academic conferences. It allows students to engage in question and answer sessions following the presentations of their paper. Attendance at the conference greatly enriches the experience of students, as undergraduate history majors are not typically afforded the opportunity to present and receive feedback on their papers at conferences. This is not only enriching for students, but it does increase the overall quality of undergraduate work by encouraging students to present the best possible versions of their research at the conference. Unfortunately, conferences are often expensive. For this reason, our yearly goal is for students to be able to attend the Phi Alpha Theta conference without personal finances affecting their choice at all. Thanks to generous past contributions of S&A and other on-campus organizations, this has been the reality for my entire time attending Phi Alpha Theta, as well as many years before it. In order to continue being able to meet this goal, we are requesting an amount of $4,250. This money will cover food, transportation, and most of lodging. The remainder of the lodging will be requested from other sources like Student Academic Senate and Club Council. Meals are one of the largest expenses to students, as attending a multi-day conference would require them to purchase a great amount of food out of their own pocket, since the conference only provides some breakfast and some lunch. But due to the distance from Ellensburg, this leaves a number of meals unfunded. The request for food money will allow us to give students their per diem upfront as cash rather than dealing with reimbursement. To many students who may not have a credit card or have adequate funds to front the costs for their food and then be reimbursed later, providing the money for the duration of the trip upfront saves an enormous amount of stress and potentially prevents students from having to choose between overextending themselves financially or going hungry on a school-sponsored work trip. Due to changing guidelines for funding from other on-campus organizations, S&A is the only feasible place from which we can request food money and receive it in this method. Travel and lodging are also obviously extremely important parts of the trip. We have to get there and we have to stay there in order to actually present at the conference. And the conference organizers typically will provide a special group rate for hotels relatively near the conference, even like across the street, very walking distance typically. Then this is a very key part of attending Phi Alpha Theta is receiving the money for travel, for food, and for lodging. A contribution of the amount requested would allow a group of up to 20 students to get the valuable experience of attending an academic conference and sharing their own original research in a supportive, intellectually stimulating environment. The Phi Alpha Theta Conference also grants awards for Best Undergraduate Paper, Best Graduate Paper, and Best Overall Paper. In each of the past 3 years, Central Washington students have been nominated for and won these awards. Alumnus and newly minted history lecturer Luke Pearsons won awards for his research in 2017 and presented at the Phi Alpha Theta National Conference in 2018. Current graduate student Adam Robertson was awarded Best Undergraduate Paper in 2018, and I was nominated but didn't win for Best Overall Paper in 2019. With a contribution of the amount requested, Central's strong track record of presenting award-worthy papers will be able to continue. The Phi Alpha Theta Regional Conference allows students to present their original research in a friendly environment which closely matches the environment of professional academic conferences. It gives students an opportunity to present their own original research and receive feedback which they can incorporate into their future work. The conference also affords students an opportunity to network and discuss their research with their peers, creating new relationships and encouraging collaboration. A contribution from S&A will allow students to attend this conference to be able to focus solely on creating the best possible research by removing financial concerns around food, lodging, and travel. It would greatly ease the decision-making process of students who have not attended the conference before, and would allow Central Washington University history students to continue the award-winning tradition of presenting high-quality original research at this academic conference.
Thank you. All right, that'll open it up to the committee for comments and questions. Start with Eric.
How, after this conference, will the presenters and participants be able to bring this back to the campus? What type of things will you all be able to do to, bring it to the student that didn't get to go, or not even history students, but say literature or math? How would you,
Well,
able to bring that back?
If somebody goes to a conference, they're going to come back and they're going to talk about it naturally. And I think talking about presenting your own original research, and maybe to someone who didn't go that year or who was in a different discipline, they might hear someone talking about the conference and talk about the process of creating a piece of original research and then presenting it. They think, wow, that's something that I want to do. And then explore, maybe if they're in a different discipline like mathematics, they might have an academic conference of their own discipline. Or they might even think, hey, maybe I want to be a history major. Waiting for us.
Sorry. What are the criteria for students to go to this conference?
So the criteria are, like I said, we're requesting funding for up to 20 people to be able to go. The abstracts for the papers will be vetted by a history professor, Mr. Farrell, sitting over there. The papers themselves will be vetted and assessed and edited by department personnel, by history professors. So there is a pretty extensive vetting and editing process before anything actually gets even submitted to the conference. Yes.
Historically, has the club seen like 20 members go, or is it like less?
It's been right around there. Okay. It's been like 18, 21, in that ballpark.
Great.
What are the awards monetary, or?
So the award is you get a book, and then you will get funded by the Phi Alpha Theta organization to attend the next national conference, which is on a biennial basis. So like Luke won best undergraduate paper and was able to go and present at the national conference in New Orleans in 2018.
Do any, and I apologize if you said this, do any of the papers that get presented and brought here get presented or shared here on campus?
Yeah,
either before or after?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have, I think, everyone who goes to Phi Alpha Theta is expected to come present a source.
Got it.
So yeah, that is, they definitely get presented on campus. Yes.
Should the S&A committee determine to not fully fund this event, is there criteria that you will use to determine who is going? Let's say 20 people apply and 20 people are have great papers and are invited to come present. If we're only funding half of it, is there a criteria to determine who of those 20 would be able to go?
I think we'd have to address that as it came up, but I think the criteria would basically just be more closely looking at the papers and saying which of these is, are of the highest quality. It would just be a departmental process, essentially.
Great.
Maybe I missed where lodging is, where you're staying, but you have 2 students per room. Many groups have 4 students per room. Is that a consideration?
Yeah, that is a consideration. We're requesting funding for 2 students per room. That was the number that we submitted, but if need be, we could push it to 4 a room.
And then it's like history club and doing other fundraising efforts.
Yeah, so we do book sales, and we'll do book and bake sales in either the CERT and the library lobby, or also anything like all of that stuff actively.
Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. What else next week? All right, moving on to request 2026 Showtime at Central, DSU, for $6,200.
First of all, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. My name is Nathaniel Julian. I'm the president of the Black Student Union.
I'm Tiffany Wilby. I'm the vice president of the Black Student Union. I'm Sierra Wilby, and I'm the piece of Tiffany. Yes, you're right, the Black Student Union.
I'm Elena. I'm the secretary for Black Student Union. I'm Jalen. I am the co-programmer for Black Student Union.
And I'm Aaron Duff, the program.
Today we are missing our treasurer and public relations coordinator. They have other places to be, but we have 2 more board members who are on this.
So what is Showtime, you might be asking? Showtime is a talent show that BSU throws every year. It is our biggest event of the year, with a twist. It's after the show here, the Showtime of the Apollo that Steve Harvey, if you've heard of him, most of you probably have, he judges that show. And it's a chance for students on campus to come up stage. They're given 30 seconds to perform their act for the crowd, and the crowd is given a chance to boo or to cheer for them. And whether they get cheered for or booed, they go from there. If they're cheered for, they get to finish their act. And at any time during their act, they could be booed off stage if they mess up, per se. But it's a great chance for students who are artists on campus to come out and showcase their talent for everyone. You asked who Showtime is for. Showtime is honestly for the entire community of Ellensburg. It's both the central students, the central staff and faculty, as well as anything that calls Ellensburg their home. This is what it is for and what we want to do. This also is a chance to give performers a larger audience to perform in front of. We do understand that open mic is the thing, and we do have local talent shows here. But in regards to that, last year for Showtime, we literally packed out the CERT ballroom on both rooms, and that was the biggest audience that we've had for Showtime in our history. So I know for the performers, that was probably the largest audience that they've seen that have performed in most of their performances as well. Also, our students have a chance to learn the history of Showtime itself and learn a little Africana and Black Studies history as well. We know how important to our community Showtime at the Apollo was, because that was the place where we'll get into that a little bit later, to where I know, Apollo, sorry, but that was one of our main outlets and our main ways in actually performing there. And with this, we continue to build relationships with student organizations, because with as big an event as this is, almost every single ESC organization comes and helps out with us as far as putting it together. We also have other CWU clubs that come in and volunteer. Everything's on the up and up. And for the very first time this year, we are actually planning on live streaming the event for viewers who cannot make it. We ran into a bit of a hiccup last year with having our Showtime right in the middle of like a blizzard through the past. So this year, to prevent anybody having to trek around or push through that, we're actually going to be live streaming it on our IG Live, so that anybody who wants to see anybody perform is able to. And again, addressing why it's important, as you heard before, this is our biggest event of the year, and it allows anybody, really when we host our auditions, they're open to anybody and everybody, and allows them to perform in front of probably the largest audience that they are ever going to see, at least as far in college world. And for a personal reason, for looking at BSU, why it's so important. Showtime is the biggest thing that is talked about by both our current students, our alumni, incoming students. When I was working at orientation for BSU, I had several incoming freshmen, all of them was on Showtime, right? So I didn't even know that people were hearing about this before they even got to school. We have alumni that bring their children back to come see this. We have people calling in and asking about it. So when you look at as far as retention here at Central, this is our biggest event that our entire community class and that across the team.
Without Nate stealing my slide, history of Showtime. Showtime at the Apollo started back in 1987 as a place for Black people and people that identify as African Americans to come and showcase their talents on a large scale. There was a time where other venues would not allow them to perform. Showtime at the Apollo did that. 15 years ago, Black Student Union here at Central decided that we were going to do Showtime here with a twist. And we've done that. It's become a tradition not just for our organization, but now for the university as a whole, because as of last year, we're a traditions keeper event. So we would encourage everyone to please come out and support. And Showtime has become ridiculously important, not just to this board and our organization, but to, I would say, to every student here on campus at Central Washington University, because it gives them a chance to not only learn about our community, but to expand and give all of our performers an opportunity to get their talents out.
Now, with the breakdown of the budget, it is a bit of an increase from what was originally, or what we had originally sent in the funds request. The reason for that is we originally had a DJ who agreed to do the event for free. However, we had to reschedule the date in regards to the music building, and that had a conflict of interest for the DJ that we had at the time. So with that, we had to hire and pay for a different one, and so that is why we actually increased from the original $6,200 to $63,7985. For Mr. Benshot, our biggest expense, we actually really appreciate that because he was our Showtime host last year and he had such a good rapport with us and built such a nice relationship. The moment that we called him and said, hey, would you be willing to do it again, his agent and everyone sent all the paperwork over, like he wants to come back. So for us, that just shows us that we're actually networking, building people outside of just this college campus, and that's a huge asset for us. Also, with the music building and equipment and instruments, we were inspired by Polyfest last year because we got to see how they turned out the music building, packed it out, and everything like that. And we figured for us, with this being paying homage to Showtime at the Apollo, why not give people the grand stage of the music building? And then, even though we know it is a finite capacity in that, we're hoping to work around that problem with the live streaming of it as well.
We probably should break down the decorations budget. We are getting stickers for the first time for Showtime. First 50 people at Showtime will get a free sticker. After that, we're going to do a little fundraising. So, we are asking for money, but we're also trying to make some money inside. Our theme for Showtime this year is 90s theme. We're doing 90s sitcom. So your Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, your Martins, we're using that, and we're going to have that instead of a traditional photo booth. We'll have theme props that people can take photos with outside of the actual big stage hall right out in front of the music building. And then the Snapchat filter, why not? We didn't have one last year, and it would be pretty cool to see our theme come to life on people's Snapchat stories they can use every year and every memories when they pop back up.
And with that,
Over on some date. Eric? Are you networking with the centers around the state? You know, there in Highline and Yakima and all over to give them or let them know that there's an opportunity that they can come perform here at the main campus?
So all of the links for our auditions and things like that will be posted on our social media. We've actually just put our flyer signups together online, and we'll be putting those on our Instagram, our Snapchat, our Twitter. But if you'd like to sign up, come see me. I have the QR code with me, so all of you are more than welcome to perform at Showtime.
We also have the students who come from the west side to perform, so it's a vision that they don't have to come to us to audition, but they can do the video and it's easier to perform.
I don't know if I'm gonna get this right, so correct me if I'm wrong. People that work in the student involvement office. Since BSU is an org, right? I don't know if like I don't know if it's ESU.
Yes, are you asking about our allocated ESC funds for the year?
Yeah.
So we are allocated $3,500 for the academic year from ESC. However, we still have Black graduation in June. So since we don't have enough to carry both events, we made a decision as a board in October to save the $3,500 for Black grad. So instead of using it for our biggest event, we're going to use it for the event that means a little bit more because our seniors deserve to be recognized and they deserve to have
So then, I guess to lead off that, I don't know if you can try to partner with like the DEC to do like.
The DEC steps in terms of funds. As a DEC employee, we've gotten furniture, it's really nice. If you haven't been there, take a look, but it's expensive. So, we decided not to ask the DEC for too much money, because we're not sure how much they can give us. And Showtime is getting more expensive because it's getting bigger every year.
Joey?
Do you all know or have an idea, obviously, I may be the only one who was here 15 years ago, so you may not be able to go that far back. Do you know how the event has been funded in the past?
In the past, it used to be a lot smaller. It would just be you get a room and then people would come and just perform. And so in the past, we went to the ADS department, the DEC, and it wasn't as expensive as it is now. So because of it being bigger and being a lot better, we have to fund that.
Thank you.
So another question, but you know, since this is a traditions keeper type of thing, do you, well, not do you think, but would student involvement have a place in doing something like this, or the VP of Student Life and Facilities or anything?
In being completely transparent with that, when we made our president, we were standing before S&A last quarter as well to go to the Oregon Students of Color Conference. And the agreement that we had with student involvement is that we would come make the presentation, and then once, if we were approved and allocated the funds, student involvement would then front us the money to pay for the conference, and at that point, we reimburse them back in. In talking with Michael Middleton, I do believe we have the same agreement on that with this, and we also have some funding from, trying to ask the ABS department, but again, they're stretched in, and PC on top of that, they're stretched in as well. So that is, like I said, when Michael and I have spoken on it, that is still believed to be the arrangement. This is the position that we're in right now.
Greg?
So if I want to perform,
Audition start on the 22nd.
I have one at 5
I have to audition. I'm not guaranteed a slot.
Unfortunately, you would have to audition.
You want me to? No.
It's only because we have a limited amount of time. We can go all night, by all means.
I'll come up with this stupid dog
I guess, and that leads to my next question. Just for fun's sake, what type of criteria are you following in your judging, if you can reveal that?
Well, we have to keep it in this room, so yeah.
This is recorded.
This is recorded.
We'll talk to you after for all the bits and pieces that you know. But we do allow everyone to come with all of their interesting talents.
Oh, yeah,
I
I've
think that's
been.
the best word for it. And we do auditions based on time. So if we have 30 acts, not all of them are going to be able to perform within 2 hours. They get, I believe it's anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes on stage if they are allowed to stay up there according to the audience. So we have to cut for time. So if we only get 15 people, fingers crossed they all stay up there, and that's what we run with. But if we have 50 people show up to audition, we'll figure it out. We start slowly pulling.
And to that same point, we are upfront with every single student who
Yes.
comes in audition. If by auditioning for Showtime, you do understand that this is not guaranteeing you fulfilling your performance on the day of the event. We are very explicit with that, with every single student.
And we also, with auditions, we do it so early to get them a month prepared. So we do give them hints on like if they're acting tailored back to the show, we tell them what to do to be prepared so they have it back to us.
They don't choose to accept that advice, that's for them.
Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thanks. Go on next week.
Oh, no, I was going to motion for a
Oh,
recess.
yeah. That was pretty.
Yes.
Can I motion for a 5-minute recess?
All right, there's a motion on the table for a 5-minute recess. 8 seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. We will come back at let's just say 6:35. All right. I call this meeting back to order.
Say that again?
6:35. And we are going to continue with supplemental requests 2027, which is the National Shape Conference, American Conference ESH, going once, going twice, 3 times, they're not here.
We haven't heard from them, so we'll reach out and move them to next week as well.
So we'll go to request 2028 American Association for Geographers Conference, which is for $2,250.
Thank you everybody for being here. My name is Matthew Johnston. I am a geography major. I'm actually environmental research geography major.
My name is Tanya. I am an environmental science major with a specialization in geography, and I'm also a student in GIS.
So we are going to what is known as the American Association of Geographers Conference. What this is basically a conference that takes all the geographers across the entire country, whether they be old and have a lot of experience or a lot younger like us and have want to just learn more about what geography is. This will be taking place on April 6th until April 10th, and it is currently in Denver, Colorado.
So my class and I will all benefit from attending this conference. We'll be able to share our research with other geographers on a national level, and by doing so, we'll raise awareness of CWU and what we value and what we're doing here at a national scale. We'll also have the opportunity to network for jobs and connect with professionals, and we're all seniors about ready to enter the workforce, so that'll be of value to us. And this may apply to me personally the most, but I also hope to learn about graduate school opportunities. I actually born and raised in Colorado, so I'm hoping to maybe find opportunities specific to a place that the conference will be going on.
So we're going to talk about projects. So we have 2 different projects, one which involves human ecology mapping, and Cycling Sea project, and I'm talking about mine. So human ecology mapping is essentially a systems approach to understanding the interactions between environment and humans. And more land managers are taking this approach to understand how to sustainably manage recreation, because there's been more and more people coming to the state of Washington and also other growing populations in the country. And they turn to this sort of technique to kind of, mitigate all the damage that could be done to those lands. And over the summer, we were tasked to, we were actually part of an internship through Central Washington and partnered up with Mountain Sound Greenway and then also the Forest Service. And we were up at the Little Natchez watershed. And essentially what our experience of human ecology mapping was going campsite to campsite and asking people to take our surveys. Surveys included where they valued, so there was a map of the watershed itself. And they had to circle the 5 places that they valued, the type of recreation they chose, and what kind of attributes brought them to that area or what they liked about the area. And then towards the end, I asked them about certain land management practices for them to express their opinions on those land management practices. And now we're kind of going through the data that we collected, and we found out that we collected 225 surveys, and those surveys had 285 surveys with 725 polygons. So, and then we determined that a third of that was just motorized recreation, because this area is really heavily populated with motorized recreators. And we're kind of advancing from that. We're researching what are the effects of that type of recreation on the stream itself, and the watershed itself, and also the water quality. And we're going to be looking at LiDAR data, and we're also going to, maybe we could even eventually do some stream analysis. But yeah, that's pretty much our state.
And that's for me, I'm doing a recycling project here at CWU. What I'm looking at is how individuals recycle, as well as how the university recycles, and trying to make improvements to it that also not only benefits our environment, but also you and me and the rest of us on campus as consumers. So what I'm trying to look at is I took about 222 surveys from students
faculty, staff, and administration here on campus, and seeing like what they believe in recycling, as well as how well they do recycling, and like what they think that could be improved here on campus. And so what I'm going to be doing is using this research, doing data analysis, statistical analysis, and making graphs, maps, whatever I can do to make sure that it gets across to everybody, as well as giving these resources to our facilities, to our housing, to our provost, and our sustainability coordinator, so they look at it and see how they can better benefit our future. Because like this is my last year here at Central, but I want to make a lasting impact on everybody here so that we have a better future.
So we have already requested and received some funding. Through our internship, Axel and I received $350 between the two of us. We also requested funds from the Office of Undergrad Research and received $1,500. And the Geography Department has offered each of us $100, and this year's total amount received on there $2,150.
And so finally, the cost of what's going to be going on. So registration for each student is about $175, which we'll be paying for the trip itself. It is a discounted price since we've already paid for our membership beforehand. About $250 for United Airlines flight to the conference. We'll shuttle from here to SeaTac, as well as shuttle from the Denver International Airport to downtown Denver to get to the conference, which is $103 per student. Per diem for all of us, we'll be living in one hotel room together, which will cost about $1,170, and have you go 7 days for about $494, which in total is about $4,236. So thank you for coming here and giving your time and attention. You're not open to questions.
Eric?
What criteria did you follow for you all to go, or was it just like there's just three of us that want to go, and yeah, and
We were the 3 geography students that wanted to attend.
We were approached about it, and each had a list of certain conferences we're going to, and this was one of those suggestions.
Another thing too is that we're unaware that any other CWU students have gone in the past. We know that certain faculty have, but I don't believe that any CWU students have gone to this convention beforehand, and so it's a good opportunity for us to show what CWU is all about.
Have you three done any like fundraising also?
We currently have not done any fundraising, though we have gotten the other departments to give money to us. Yes.
will you in the spring be presenting your findings at Source?
Yes, we will.
Great.
I just want to, I mean, I appreciate you guys, you didn't do fundraising, but I appreciate you, going to the department and Source and the grant and all that, with our other funds.
Any other questions?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Alright, with that, I'll move on to other business, communications received, none, nothing from fire either, nothing like that, so you're good. You want?
I have not, no.
Alright, I'll move on to public comment, second call. Anyone have anything you want to speak? Eric?
I just want to say that I'm glad we're in our requests that we're seeing for supplemental funding, that we are seeing new groups coming and requesting money. I think that's very important, that the word is getting out, that it's, not the same actors all the time, it's new groups, hearing that these students first time from geography going to a conference of this nature, I think it's a really exciting prospect.
Any other public comment? Valley?
This presentation,
I let him know last week.
just as a reminder.
Okay, as another reminder, the S&A fees, which include the S&A fee, the sub fee, the rec fee, are going for their presentation to PBAC for their fiscal 21 budget. on January 28th, which is not next Tuesday, the Tuesday after that, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are they like changing the budget, or is it just?
Nope. Nope. So it's going to be. This is pretty normal. We're a little earlier than normal. Usually this happens in the spring, but this is kind of one of the next steps in the budget approval process. So the presentation will be kind of going over what their plan will be for fiscal 21, and after that, it then gets recommended up to the president and the board of trustees. But that step won't happen until closer to the Board of Trustees' July meeting. So the S&A fees are the first on the docket, so we will be the first in line to go.
And it is an open public meeting, so anyone who's interested to come and sit in the gallery
There you go.
and watch,
Barge 412, right?
I'll be there.
Yes. But it is open, and so, I think if you guys have any questions, you can always, grab me at the end of this and I can talk you through it. But it is the President's Budget Committee, and they review it at a very high level. So it is not as detailed as the things that we potentially discuss at this table, but it is a pretty big, 30,000 foot look at the overall fee structures for those 3 fees.
Eric?
I have a question for you. With the increase in minimum wage that's now happened, has there been any departments that have gone, oh no, we can't do this?
So we discussed that in the meeting, the first meeting
Yeah.
of the quarter, and so there was a couple of departments that were on that list that were voted to approve their base funding allocations. But the other departments, they still did have an impact, obviously, but they had available fund balances to offset those increased in costs. So I would expect to see those in the base funding requests, which will be next year. So you'll see certain departments actually dip into their available reserves to offset the increase in cost with minimum wage and cost of living adjustments. But so far, right now, we are all in a pretty good spot. We don't have any departments that are singing any negative tunes. So.
Any other public comment?
I would add to that, I also would say we don't expect that there will be any departments that will be asking SCW for any increases either this fiscal year.
Cool.
Have there been any reconciled requests, returns?
So there's been a couple, as you can see right here. There's not a lot so far, but I would expect us to see more of those reconciled events probably in the next couple of months. A lot of the trips were actually kind of happening either at the tail end of fall quarter and in the middle of winter quarter. And so when it comes to travel, the travel can take a little bit longer to reconcile. But yeah, they're plugging away.
Eric?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
There's a motion on the table. Just seconds. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Meeting's adjourned at 6:48.